Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Cloud in a Bottle. Welcome to the channel where I cover personal reviews, gameplay, walkthroughs, and guides. So, Final Fantasy VII Remake, where do I begin? I guess I can start with my history in Final Fantasy. I played all of the original PlayStation titles, 7, 8, and 9. Keep in mind, I was a small child. It really is hard to believe that's the same kid. Incapable of processing complex storylines, subconscious innuendos, metaphors, irony. I enjoyed them because of the action, the awesome soundtrack, the magic materia, the summons, the story was enjoyable because I didn't have to understand what was going on back then. Why is it that I became so involved in these games over and over again? Why did I keep coming back at 15, 17, 20, 23? Because each time I played, I gained a different understanding, a different method of exploration, and a whole new outlook on the story itself. In 2015, when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced, I was probably more excited than I should have been. I already had plans for taking a vacation during the release. Fast forward 5 years later, to April 10th, Final Fantasy VII Remake was finally here. So, before I begin, I'd like to let you all know that this is a spoiler-free review. I'm going to break down this review into two parts with separate subcategories. What went right, and what could have gone better. And near the end of the video, I will finalize the review by leaving my 1 to 10 rating. Let's begin on a graphical standpoint. The visuals in this game are stunning. There are certain times in the game, I just stop what I'm doing. I appreciate the effort, time, and energy placed into perfecting scenes, creating inviting environments, and delivering an atmosphere I didn't know was possible. The character models were high definition, accurate, and human-like. I could see emotion, feel connected to the characters I wasn't able to in the original game. The mood of each scene was deliberate and provided enough purpose through shadows, lighting, details only today's technology could provide. I never felt that the small identifiable problems in the game and its visuals superseded the gigantic leap forward that was taken for the game to provide an experience. And that's exactly what it was. It was an experience. The music was excellent, capturing battle, scenes, and character themes that brought a sense of purpose to every encounter. It was fun and humorous and brilliant when it needed to be, but it also stood as an extra source of hype and adrenaline as you began fighting a common enemy or a boss. Gameplay was polished. It felt as if everything I was doing in the game was relevant and had a purpose. The cutscenes were perfectly placed, giving more elaboration on scenes or events that needed it, while also giving the gameplay itself the ability to capture plot points dynamically. The combat system caught me off guard, in a welcome way. Playing Jedi Fallen Order recently and being slaughtered in Sekiro 74,000 times got me used to attack and roll. The attack and roll method where you would watch an enemy prepare for an attack, when they turn red you dodge and then attack a few times and repeat. That being said, I quickly made the change within the first chapter on Final Fantasy VII Remake to rely less on my individual combat style and focus more on a team-based strategy, where team members did different things and I learned to capitalize on my team's strengths and weaknesses, while also breaking into different combat roles. Who is my healer, who's the mage, what materia to put on who. Materia slotting in this game, by the way, materia is an orb created by Essence of the Lifestream. Inside these orbs contain spells, and if you would use a specific spell long enough to use fire, for example, it would have its own individual experience level. It could be shared between characters, so when a party member leaves, you could reslot the materia and put it onto a more usable character. The Stagger System was new to me, but welcomed. If you didn't know how Final Fantasy VII combat looked originally, here's an example. Essentially, the Stagger System gives two ways to deal damage. Your main damage, that occurs when an attack or spell lands on an enemy, and the stagger meter, which fills the more you attack an enemy and the more you trigger its weakness. Eventually, the stagger gauge becomes full. you're given a varied time window, where they're defenseless and you're able to deal stacking additional damage to a target. This gave the battle system something it needed: variety in a fight, and a new way to approach combat that hasn't really been capitalized on before. Final Fantasy XIII touched this concept, but it didn't get anywhere near what Final Fantasy VII Remake has achieved. I cannot review this game without looking deep into the clouds and explaining the nostalgia factor that pushes this game so much higher on my list. From the very beginning, you're given a familiar setting, a dramatic reimagining of scenes and lines, but then there's times that I forget that I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake because there's so many changes. Before I move on to the improvements, Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually Final Fantasy VII Reimagined. This game is not the exact same as it was in 1997, and it is not 100% accurate in self-declaring itself a remake. This is not a bad thing. If you're a die-hard fan who has every expectation that it is, scene by scene, a recreation of Final Fantasy VII, you're going to be disappointed. I'll leave a link to Steam down below for Final Fantasy VII Remastered. This story gave me exactly what I needed and pushed all the right buttons. If all of that is true, what could have possibly been done better? During certain areas in the game in which you can explore, there are a few graphical shortcomings. Some objects were rendered at a very low resolution compared to the environment around them, such as a door in Sector 7 and some flowers in the slums. My guess is that this occurred so the game could run smoothly, but who knows? I 100% have no idea. I've heard people speaking on the side quests in Final Fantasy VII Remake, and how some of them are redundant and fetch-like. While I don't completely agree, I can see how a few of the beginning side quests felt slightly lackluster. If I'm being truthful, I really enjoyed the combat so much that it overwhelmed the issue. It became, so what if I have to go over there and kill rats? I love killing rats. In order to make Final Fantasy VII through and through a complete game, they needed to make an ending that left you breathless. They succeeded in portraying a climactic, jaw-dropping, and heart-wrenching experience, but at the same time, there was something missing. Throughout the game, I feel that enjoyability, while extremely represented, was limited. During very few key points in the story, for people who have never played Final Fantasy VII, there were small flashbacks, the ending, and some other aspects of the game that were honestly pretty reliant on nostalgia and knowing what happened in the first game. That being said, I think the best way to tackle this issue is, if you haven't, play the original Final Fantasy VII. Get yourself a PSP, play Crisis Core, Dirge of Cerberus, and watch Final Fantasy VII Last Order, and Advent Children. And when you're finished, play the remake again, and enjoy the game like the rest of us diehard fans. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. My score for Final Fantasy VII Remake is a 9.5 out of 10. Let me know in the comment section what your final score for Final Fantasy VII Remake is. If you like this review, would like to see more reviews just like this one, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for future content. If you want to see me play games or have an open discussion, follow me on Twitch. Links down in the description box below. Guess I'll bottle it up until next time.